pumpkin is I have my needles and I have a 10.5 circular needle, and this is a 16-inch circumference, and I'm going to use this this bulky weight puffin. So I want to cast on 50, so I'm going to start with a slip knot like this, and then I'm going to use a long tail cast on to cast on 50 stitches onto my needle. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I cast on 50 stitches onto my needle. Now I have to connect it so that I'm working in the round. I want to make sure that my tail is off to the side and I'm working with my working yarn that's connected to the ball. And I am holding this. I'm making sure that all of these loops, none of them are twisted. They're all kind of leaning in towards the middle of my circle. And here I'm going into this stitch. And once I wrap it like this, then I've joined in the round. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. Let's see. So for this one, I am knitting 3 and purling 2. Bringing the yarn to the front. And I'm going purl 1, purl 2. This first round is going to be a little tricky. It'll become smoother as I go. Then I'm just knitting 3, knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, and then purl 1, purl 2. Typically, I will put a little marker at the beginning of my round, but for this project, I'm just doing a ribbed tube, so it doesn't really matter where I start and where I end. This tail is going to pretty much show me where the beginning of the round is right here, but you can see those knits, and then I just purled 2, so now I'm going to knit 3 again. Knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, and purl 2. And I just keep going in this tube. I keep knitting 3 and purling 2. Let's see, I'm going to refer to my pattern right here. I'm going to keep doing that until my piece measures 8 inches from the cast on edge. So I'm going to keep ribbing, and then I'll get back to you once I have some fabric here. Okay, I just wanted to check in. Right now I have about maybe 1 inch of ribbing where I'm knitting 3 and purling 2. And maybe for some of you, this might be the first ribbed project that you've done before. And I wanted to show you how you can tell. There's gonna be times where you have to put your work down, you have to go answer the phone, somebody's calling you, you have to do a load of laundry, and then you come back to your work and you might think, I don't know where I am, whether I was doing the 3 knits or the 2 purls, I am lost. So I just wanted to show you a way that you could look at your knitting, and your knitting will tell you where you are, okay? So do you see these 3? These are 3 knits right here, and I know that they're knits because they have those little V's that go all the way down the needle. See how they look like little V's? And these are the purl bumps right here. Those are the ones where I purled 2. So my yarn is coming from the right side, and I'm going into this stitch right here, and that one is, I know that it's a knit stitch. So in a way, instead of going through my work and going 1, 2, 3 knits, and then counting 2 purls, I can kind of zone out a little bit and just look at my stitches and let my stitches tell me which, what kind of stitch comes next. I know that this is a knit, so I'm just keeping an eye on those stitches as I go. Okay, I've finished 8 inches of ribbing. I'm going to take this and just make sure. Okay, so I could see that I've got, I don't know if it shows, 8 inches of ribbing. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my tail from my working yarn like this. Go ahead and break it. So now I'm finished with this for now. I'm going to use a tapestry needle and I'm going to thread it through. I think this will fit in there. Okay. Okay. So now here are my stitches. It's coming from the right needle right there. And I'm going to go ahead and just pick up all these stitches with my working yarn using the tapestry needle. I just go around and I grab all of these stitches onto the needle. Needle's finished. Now I'm going to pull it all the way through and I'm going to cinch the bottom of this shet. So I'm going to pull it until it kind of closes. I don't want to break the yarn, so I'm not pulling it too hard. Okay. Now I'm just going to go through a couple more stitches down here, like this. Just through some stitches to kind of close it up all the way, like that. That's pretty good. This is the bottom of the pumpkin, so I'm kind of happy with it going like that. Then I'm going to put it inside the middle and I'm going to pull it out like this. And I might even take it inside out and just like tack it, even make a knot on the inside so it kind of stays shut. Now I'm working on the inside of the pumpkin right here. Pull the inside out like this. Just kind of doing a little running stitch along the inside through some of these stitches. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it is the inside. Okay, maybe like this. And then instead of just pulling it through, I'm going to run it through this little loop so it kind of makes a knot. Like that. Okay, I pulled the knot and then that is the inside. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, and this yarn, this extra yarn can just live on the inside of your pumpkin. As long as the hole is closed, then I'm just going to put it right side out, and then that tail could just hang out on the inside. I want to keep this long tail though here, because I'm going to use that to run along the outside edge. Now it's time for me to fill it. Okay, so I've got this little wad of polyfill, and I'm just going to take this and I'm going to stuff my pumpkin. Like that. Maybe he needs a little bit more. Let's see if I could find a little bit more. It is kind of nice the way you stuff it, and those ribs separate a little bit, and it just looks so pretty. Okay, I found some extra stuffing, and now I think it's plump enough, because it is going to kind of squish down a little bit like this. So I don't want to like fill it all the way to the top. This is the bottom, so the bottom looks like it's closed up pretty nicely. And then I still have this, this nice working yarn along the top too that I'm going to thread along. So I'm going to kind of do the same process what I did on the underside of the pumpkin to the top. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to thread it along the top. So I'm going to cinch it up kind of like a drawstring on the top. So I'm just taking it and just kind of randomly just sticking it through some stitches like that. So instead of just taking one from the outside, I'm just kind of going through the whole V. Actually, I kind of want to do it a little bit closer. See how it's kind of cinching up like a drawstring? Like this, all the way along the top until I get back to where I started. And I can pull on it a little bit and I can see how it's cinching up like a little purse. So I'm going to keep going all along the top just for now. So I threaded it all the way through and I'm tightening up the top of the pumpkin right here. And I did stuff it a little bit more as I went around these loops, because as I went around the loops I could kind of tell that some of it was kind of just sinking in a little bit and I wanted it to be a little bit rounder, a little bit more plump. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go into maybe 2 more stitches right here, pull through, and then I want to pull through the loop to make a little knot up here because I want it to stay really nice and tight up there. So I'm gonna pull it and then pull the knot. Okay, nice and tight. Okay, so here's the top. There's the body. And now I have that nice and secure up here. Now what I could do is I could take my needle and just dive it through from like pole to pole. I'm going through this little hole and I'm going to kind of feel my way through to see if I could feel the other side of the needle going through the bottom. Okay, so here comes the needle right here through the bottom. And this is where I'm going to cinch it a little bit. And hopefully, if I did it right, it'll start to look a little bit more pumpkin-like. Then it's time for the stem. So I'm going to pull it, kind of like that. And I could always kind of squish it around to make sure that it looks like the shape that I want. So now I'm working at the bottom, and I'm cinching it a little bit. And I'm going to pull it through, kind of lace my way through a couple of these stitches on the bottom, like this. And I'm going to pull that through. And then before I make a little knot by pulling it through the loop, I'm just going to make sure that it's really like cinched nice and tight. Like that. Okay. And then I pull it through. And I kind of knot it down there. Okay. Okay. So it's okay if it doesn't have like the resulting shape quite yet, because now we have to do the stem. So here's the top, here's the bottom, and it's starting to look a little bit more like a pumpkin. Now it's time to do our icord stem, if that's what you want. This one is done with worsted weight yarn, and here is what that little icord stem looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and do it for our pumpkin right now. I took a little bit of this yarn from my stash, and this is a worsted weight wool. I like how it looks with this, but this is worsted, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 lengths so I can knit them together in this icord stem. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, now I have my yarn ready for the icord stem. So first I'm going to make a slip knot. And you could either do this with DPNs or with a circular. So I'm going to put 3 stitches onto my needle like this, 3 stitches, okay? Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it all the way to the other side of my needle like this, so that the working yarn is actually coming from the bottom. And I am going to take my needle and I'm going to knit those 3 stitches, okay? Hopefully this isn't too dark for you to see. I'm going to do, oops, let me get in there. 1, 2, 3, okay. I'm going to pull on that tail a little bit. Now I'm going to take these 3 stitches and I'm going to slide them to the other side so that my working yarn's actually coming from the bottom, but that's okay. Then I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to knit 3 again. This is how you make the I-cord. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it and slide it to the other side of my needle, and I'm going to knit those 3, and I'm going to keep going until I get an idea of how that stem is looking. And I'll decide whether or not it's too thick. I'm not sure if it's going to be too thick with 3 strands together or if I should have 2, but we'll see. I'm actually kind of liking how this stem looks. It looks good, really chunky with this bulky puffin. So I'm going 1, 2, 3. I'll show you how it's starting to look. 3. So here's my working yarn coming from the bottom and I'm sliding it up to the top. And there's my stem. It's starting to look kind of good, and it kind of looks like a little braided tube, and I think it's going to be pretty proportional with this pumpkin. Taking a look. I like that. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to make it a little bit longer, and then I'll show you what to do with this funny little tail. Okay, I think I've got enough stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my threads like this and I'm going to put it through a tapestry needle. I'm just going to secure these stitches right here that are still on my needle. So I'll go like this. I go in this live stitch, 2, and 3, and I'll pull it through. Don't need my needle anymore. Okay, so I'm going through the bottom. I'm gonna let that go, and see the top of my I-cord has this funny little tail. I'm gonna go ahead and thread it through. And because my I-cord is a tube, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my tail right into the center of the tube like this. All the way in, and I kind of work my needle towards the bottom, and I'm gonna pull it through, and it'll just like let go on the inside like this. And then I will just let that tail kind of reside in there. And if it's sticking out, then I'll go ahead and just cut off that extra. Okay, now it's time to put my stem onto the pumpkin. So now in order to thread my stem through my pumpkin, I'm going to thread the tails through like this, okay? Go into the top of my pumpkin and work through to the bottom where I have those tails from when I cinched the top to the bottom. Oh, okay. I like the way this stem is kind of stiff because that's like nice non-superwash yarn, so it's kind of sits up. And now I have pulled it through, and I can take the tail and I could tie it to the yarn that I had on before. really like it. Okay. So now I have added my stem. I really like the shape. Now you might be wondering what to do with these tails. Okay, so for the stem tail, I am just going to put it on a tapestry needle, and then I can just go in a space, and then I just go out, let's see, out right here, anywhere, and I'm just gonna tug on it until I see the end, and then I can cut it like that and just wiggle it right into the pumpkin so that it doesn't stick out anymore, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing with this tail. Just gonna thread it on, and that's as long as you have the shape that you want. If you want it to be a little bit tighter, then you could always go pole to pole a little bit more and then cinch it back up, okay? What I mean pole to pole is go in the bottom, go around the top, and then just cinch it a little bit tighter. Okay, so here is my yarn coming out here. I could just put it right in there. It doesn't bother me that I see the dark from the stem. And then I'm just going to wiggle it around until it comes out somewhere. Like this, until it doesn't come out anymore. Then I'm just going to cut it, and I'm just gonna let it wiggle on in because it will not come out anymore. And you guys, I love my pumpkin. I love it. Here's the little guy, here's the big puffin one, and the pattern is free at the shop. Thanks, Sarah, for developing such a great pattern for such a cute pumpkin.